Hey everybody, thanks for clicking that thumbnail. Welcome to Talking Habs. Happy to have you here, and today's video we're going to take a look at what the lineup for the Montreal Canadiens might look like going into the season, what the taxi squad, who it might consist of, and how do the Montreal Canadiens become cap compliant by the time the season starts. So they're just a little bit over the cap, and they need to get under the cap by the time the season starts. And as a matter of fact, I think it is on the 12th of January at 1 minute to midnight, they have to be cap compliant. So we're going to find out how they do that, who's going to be in the taxi squad, get your words right, and what the lineup might look like. And before we get to that, if you're a Habs fan like I am, and you are looking for some daily content of the Habs, well, go no further, hit the subscribe button, click that notifications bell, and that's going to get you your daily fix of Bleu, Blanc, Rouge right here at Talking Habs. And let's, while you're at it, if you like the video, give a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that, and let's get right into it. So over here, I got a whole bunch of stuff, and we're going to take a look at where the cap situation is at, and a bunch of different things that are going to lead us, hopefully, to a lineup, a taxi squad, and a way for them to get under the cap. So currently, cap spending right now. So for the forwards, they have $39,221,666 being spent on the forwards. Now, if you look at cap friendly, by the way, I don't think their numbers are right, because that's like 500,000 lower than what they have. And I've gone over these numbers and added everybody up individually, and I get different numbers. So I'm going to go with the numbers I got, and we'll see where we get there. So that's those numbers. Defense, they're spending $23,836,310 on goaltending, $14,850,000, and there's also the Alzner cap hit. So if anybody's been trying to figure this out, you might not have, like, if your numbers don't make sense, it's the Alzner cap hit, because I almost forgot about that, and it's kind of substantial for this season, $3,958,333. And when you add all of that up, you get $81,866,309. Now, cap friendly says it's $82,616,309. I've seen in other articles here and there, I've seen different numbers, to be honest with you, so I'm going to go with my numbers. The difference between my numbers and cap friendly is $750,000, which is basically a minimum salary. I know Jake Evans, who's a non-roster player, according to cap friendly, that's what he's making, and I just wonder if they've added that in somehow, or however that got to it. Anyway, we're going to go with the $81,866,000. Now that puts them $366,309, or you could say $310, I don't know, $309 over the cap. So that's not a lot of, you know, it's not a whole lot of money. It's less than one player at minimum. And they should be able to do that without having to move anybody. And that's one of my questions here about trades, if there's any reason for them to have to make trades to get under the cap, and there really isn't at this point. So because of the new, okay, I'll leave that. Because of the, well, let's put it this way. The last predictions I did, we didn't know exactly the details for the upcoming season. So we didn't know about the taxi squad and how it all worked. So with the taxi squad and the way that the teams are allowed to use that, they should easily be able to get themselves under the cap without having to move anybody. And they have the depth to start the season that even if someone gets hurt, they've got the depth now that I don't think they have to make any moves in order to get under the cap. And we're going to talk about it some more. Now, there are waiver exempt players, and these guys are going to come into be important, because that's how you're going to get, you know, save some cap money, right? You're going to be able to put guys on this taxi squad on days off, like when there's 2, 3, 4 days off, and there are periods when they have that. You can put these players that are waiver exempt, and then you get that relief, and that all adds up, and that allows you to keep under the cap. It won't have any effect at the beginning of the season, but it'll allow them to keep under the cap, so they're important. Nick Suzuki, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Alex Romanov, Ryan Poehling, Jake Evans, Lucas Vadimo, Cale Fleury, and Caden Primo. These guys are all waiver exempt, meaning they can be put down to the AHL, onto the taxi squad, and brought back without having to clear waivers. So no chance of getting picked up, and any money that they make for those days that they're down, you get cap relief. So that's how that works. Do I think Suzuki, KK, Romanov, are they going to be put on the taxi squad to stay? No, that's ridiculous. That's not going to happen. But on days off, you can save a good chunk of money, and it adds up. And it's going to be important why it adds up. I'll get to it in a bit. Now, there's also no movement clauses and and modified no trade clauses. And there's guys with that. Brendan Gallagher has a no movement clause. Jeff Petrie has a modified no trade clause this season and a no movement clause for the next 4 after that for his new contract. So he could be moved down to the I mean, I don't think he'd clear waivers. Joel Edmondson, Ben Sherratt have the same thing, no modified no trade clauses, and then Carey Price has a no movement clause. So the difference being with a no movement clause, it is just that you can't move them. You can't move them to the minors, and you can't move them to another team without their permission. So they have to say, yes, I'll waive my no movement clause, and you can do that, or else they stay where they are. The modified no trade clause is just that they have a list of teams that they can provide, depending on their deal, how many teams that is, and that they can't be traded to, but otherwise they can. And those guys can be moved and can be sent down to the taxi squad. But of those guys that have the no trade clauses, I don't think Petrie, Edmondson, Sherratt, again, I don't think they're going to pass waivers, so I don't think you're going to do that, right? So it's not really going to matter, but I thought I'd clarify that. So that leaves a couple of questions, and we'll take a look at the taxi squad. Byron. Now, the last prediction video I did, Paul Byron was my pick for being moved in order for them to get under the cap the way that Marc Bergevin wanted, with at least $1.5 million in space. And I thought Byron and Kulak would be the natural guys to move. That was my opinion. Other people had different opinions, but that's how I thought. But since with all what we know, with this taxi squad, you know, it's a possibility that they don't need to move anybody like that. And the only thing is, Paul Byron would have to clear waivers to be put on the taxi squad. You'd get the relief of $1,075,000. Jordan Wheel's another guy. So anybody that's making $1 million or more, you get $1,075,000 in cap relief. If it's under that, you get what his contract is. So the contract's $750,000. You put him on a taxi squad, you get that amount of relief, prorated obviously by day, and that's how that works. So does Paul Byron, being an A, he's an alternate captain, do you want him on the taxi squad? Are they going to change who the assistants or alternates are? Like, what's going to happen? Because it makes more sense to have Paul Byron and a guy like Wheel down there, and we'll go over the lineup, and I'll explain a little bit more why. But thing is, will they clear? You think Paul Byron could clear waivers, or Jordan Wheel? And you know, oddly enough, if I'm a team, I would want Paul Byron more than Wheel on my team because Paul Byron's a better player. But you know what? With Paul Byron's 3 years left on his deal at $3.4 million, and in the climate, the financial climate that the NHL is in right now, more than likely Paul Byron clears waivers. Like, I can see a team like Ottawa, where he's from Ottawa. They have cap space. They have need of a guy like that. I could see a team like Ottawa maybe claiming him, but still in this climate, maybe not, because I think in this climate, maybe Byron's a little bit overpaid because the cap's not going up, right? So it becomes a clumsy contract. So more than likely, a guy like Paul Byron clears waivers. A guy like Jordan Wheel, with 1 year left this season at $1.4 million, so he walks into free agency. You don't have to care if you don't need him. He is a usable, very usable guy on a taxi squad, especially a fourth line guy. I mean, he's definitely, you know, he's usable. It's not the right word, but you know, he's serviceable. That's the word. I actually think Jordan Wheel probably doesn't clear waivers. It's a good chance. And the thing is that, so if you lose Jordan Wheel while he's serviceable, it's also not the end of the world. I would rather lose a Jordan Wheel than to lose a Paul Byron when you don't really want to, right? So it's the thing, do they clear waivers? Because they are going to have to clear waivers. They are not waiver exempt, right? Now, I wanted to touch on, before we get to the taxi squad, Charlie Lindgren. You have to have 3 goalies to play this season. You have to have 3 goalies. Now, you can have 3 goalies on your 23-man roster, or you can have 2 goalies there and 1 goal in your taxi squad, but it has to be one of those 2 ways. Montreal, Price and Allen are on the 23-man roster. So who's the other goalie? Is it going to be Caden Primo? Who's the better goalie, in my opinion, between Lindgren and Primo? But that means Primo's going to sit on the taxi squad or be the 3rd goalie and not play, and you don't really want Primo doing that. You want him playing in the AHL as much as he can. So Primo's not going to be the guy. I think your best bet with the most experience in the NHL is Lindgren. So I think Lindgren gets the nod of the rest of the goalies. So Lindgren is going to be... he's going to be on your taxi squad, he's going to be on your roster. If you can work it out that Byron is on the taxi squad and then Lindgren is the 3rd goalie and he's on your 23-man roster, lowers your cap hit. So that's one way they can work with it. But Lindgren's going to be in that mix unless they move him, and I don't see that's going to happen. So these are the questions I have to decide who's on the taxi squad, right? So let's go and see. I don't know much about this guy. Baddick is a guy they traded for last year. At the beginning of the year, he's an AHLer, but he has no waiver exemption. I don't know anybody would pick him up anyway, but he's an AHL guy that could come in to help out. But like I said, I know very little about this guy. You got Alex Belzeau. Belzeau is an older player, so if he sits on the taxi squad and he's not playing in the AHL and developing anymore, it's not really affecting the Habs' prospects of anything, right? So I think Alex Belzeau, without going through all the names yet, I think Alex Belzeau automatically is going to be on that taxi squad. You got, I think it's Joseph Blandisi, again, guy they've had, I think, for 2 seasons in that AHL system. I don't know much about him, but he's a guy that I think has played a little bit in the NHL, I think. So he could be there. You got Paul Byron, who we just talked about. You got Laurent Dauphin, who has played a little bit, I think, in the Arizona system. No waiver exemption, but again, don't think he's going to get claimed if you wave him around. I think he's got a good chance to be there. Cale Fleury, because Cale Fleury might make the roster for the 23-man roster, might not. I think he could be there. He is waiver exempt. He can go up and down. Lindgren, as we just said, Xavier Ouellet, we need defensemen. I think Ouellet has a really good shot. I think if Fleury's not on that taxi squad, I think Ouellet is for sure. Ryan Poehling, he's one of those guys. Is he going to sit on the taxi squad and not play? Or is he going to rather be in the AHL, playing good minutes and developing? And I think that's how it would go with Poehling. So if Poehling doesn't make your roster, I doubt he's on the taxi squad. And then there's Jordan Wheel, who we just talked about. So I think it's most likely, in my opinion, who's going to be on there. We'll go with the guys for sure. I think they try to put Byron there. If they can, Byron sits there. And what I was saying earlier, in when you're able to put guys on the taxi squad, and then you get the cap relief, and you save up, make more cap space, and hopefully Byron only has to sit on the taxi squad until there's a time when they've got enough cap space that they can bring him back up. And they've got the room for that. So it might not be a huge amount of time. And then again, he could stay there for a long time until there's an injury. Is there a chance of being injuries this year? If any, there's probably going to be some injuries. So I think Byron, your attempt to get him on the taxi squad, if he gets claimed, and if he doesn't, which is more than likely, he's on the taxi squad. I think Jordan Wheel, same thing. He goes to the taxi squad. If he gets claimed, he does. If not, he's on the taxi squad. From doing that, it's $2,150,000 in cap relief based on a daily average, right? So I think those 3 guys. I also think they leave a spot empty because when you want to be moving guys up and down to get this cap relief, you need a spot there, because if you have to bring another guy back up, and then it's not much difference, right? So you leave 1 open spot, right? So there's going to be an open spot. I've got 3 guys right now. We got 3, that makes 4. We got 2 more to figure out who. We just said, going to be Charlie Lindgren. Lindgren has to be there if he's not on the 23-man roster. A goalie has to be there. It's going to be Lindgren, in my opinion. For me, I think you can cross out these guys, because you need A defenseman. There's no defenseman yet in this taxi squad. I think you can cross these guys out. I think Ryan Poehling goes to the AHL. And then it's between Ouellet and Fleury. So I think for me, I'd rather have Fleury there. I like Fleury's physicality. He's just a little young. I like Ouellet. I thought his game was okay. And he's a good fill-in. So the decision is, what do you want to do with Fleury? Do you want Fleury to maybe sit on the taxi squad for a long period of time and not develop? Or do you want him to play at least in the AHL and be playing and be developed? And if you do need him, he's in game shape, he's ready, blah, 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 right? So I think that probably means that Ouellet is your fifth guy. Fleury goes to the AHL. Or he makes the roster, but he's not on the taxi squad. And I think you got 5 guys on the taxi squad. Might be 4 and they want 2 open spots, but you need 1 open spot so you can send a guy like Suzuki, KK, Romanov down on the off days and get that cap relief. So I think that's your taxi squad. These questions are answered. The questions left are, what does the lineup look like? We've got the addition of Michael Frolik, Corey Perry. I just did the taxi squad. I'm not putting them there, and there's a reason for that, and we'll talk about it in this. So we got the lineup. I think the lineup stays the same in this, that the first line doesn't change. Not to start the season. Phil Deneau, Tatar, and Gallagher. I don't see that changing to start the season as long as they're on the team, because I don't think Suzuki gets that first line center until there's a few games played and you see how he's going. If there's any sophomore jinx, stuff like that, I don't think you touch that first line. Second line, Suzuki, Drouin, Anderson on the other side. There was some good chemistry between Suzuki and Drouin in the RTP. I want to see that continue and see what's there. And if you add Anderson onto that, big, physical, and can score guy, I think that really makes a good line, and I want to see that line and see what it can do. Third line, KK is going to be your third line center. I don't think that's in doubt, and I mean, unless he's moved. And you got Toffoli, I think, goes to the left, and you have Armia on the right, so you got good size here. All 3 are over 6 feet, with Armia at 6'4". I think KK's at 6'2". He might even be 6'3" now, and Toffoli, I believe, is 6'1". So these are all good-sized guys with some talent. Toffoli got experience. He's got playoff, I mean, Stanley Cup winning experience. He can play either side. He's got a good shot. He can score from anywhere. I mean, he's a guy that I want to see KK pass to. KK starting to look better. His passing game was really good when they shipped him over to Finland. He really came around at the end. And Armia, well, they've played together. Armia can score from at any point when he's in the offensive zone. He can intercept a pass or a play, get the puck, steal it, whatever. He can score when he's in that zone. So I hope he's going to have a really great season. I predicted him to have a breakout season last year, but he got hurt. Maybe it's this year. Fourth line, I think, is going to be Lehkonen, because I don't think you sit Lehkonen. I don't think you put him on the taxi squad, and I don't want him to be traded. So I think Lehkonen is going to shift down to the fourth line with Perry on the right side, because he's going to be playing here. But Perry is not going to play 56 games. He's probably going to play somewhere around 35 to 38 games, and I think Michael Frolik and him kind of split time there. And that really, you know, it gives Evans, who I think is going to be a fourth-line center, it gives him a little bit of insulation. You've got the experience of Perry and Frolik and Lehkonen, and you got that defensive skill of Lehkonen, and I think, and the toughness on Perry, and I think that makes for a good fourth line, and it kind of insulates Evans and gives him his best shot to have a good season. It's going to be his first year as a starting center. That leaves you with the aforementioned Frolik as an extra, and one of Wheel or Byron. I mean, maybe both going to the taxi squad, but I don't think so. But it's a possibility. And I think that's your 23-man roster to start the season. Oh, that's for the forwards. For the defense, Sherratt Weber, I don't think that changes. I'm quite sure it doesn't. You got Edmondson and Petrie. A lot of people think Romanov will eventually get that spot. I don't really think so in the first year. I don't see Edmondson as a third pairing defenseman myself. He's only done that in his rookie season, and he is a top 4 defenseman. So we'll see how that works out. But I think it's Edmondson and Petrie, and it's Romanov, and either Kulak or Mete, depending on what they do with Kulak or Mete. I personally think it's Mete. That's why I'm putting Mete there. He gives you a different look than the other defensemen. They're all bigger and they hit hard and all that. He gives you a bit of a different look that you might find useful in certain games. So you might find that this spot is kind of Mete and Kulak kind of share. I don't know. We'll see. So I think that's the look there. And of course, Price and Allen on in net. I don't see that change. And I personally think Price will get about 60% of the games. You know, maybe give or take a percent, or like it might be 58%, it might be 62, 64. He's going to get the bulk of the games that way. With Allen getting his share, I think it's going to be a great tandem. And I think that's your lineup. Barring anything happening, any deals made, there's still time for him to sign people. I don't think he does, but you never know. I don't think he brings in, like I'm thinking of a veteran fourth line guy to play center. That could happen, and then you can keep Evans down. I don't know. We'll see. I haven't heard anything, and there's no rumors, but are there, with Bergevin, there's usually not. Whatever rumors you hear, he does something else. That's usually the case. So there you go. Let me know what you think. Maybe you think I'm a whack job within, I don't know. Let me know what you think. What would you do? Do that in the comment section. Give me any ideas, any changes you'd make. If you agree with me, you disagree. So do that in the comment section. If you're new to the channel or you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe, ring that notifications bell, and that'll get you your daily fix of Bleu Blanc Rouge right here at Talkin' Habs. So thanks everybody for watching. I really appreciate it. Stay safe out there. Peace out, y'all. And I'll see you soon. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy the hockey game tonight. I'm filming this on the 2nd before the quarterfinal game between Canada and Czech Republic. If you're watching this in time, I'm doing a live stream through the whole game. Check it out. Hope to see you there. And bye, everybody.